'cause death is just the doorway into resurrection life. And if I join you in your sufferings, then I'll join you when you rise. And when you return in glory with all the angels and the saints, my heart will still be singing, and my song will be the same. We're singing, oh, Christ be magnified, let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me, and oh, Christ be magnified from the altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me, and oh, Christ be magnified, let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me, and oh, Christ be magnified from the altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me.
Yeah, we love you, Jesus. Be honored. Thank you for your presence here. In your precious name I pray. Amen. Amen. Why don't you take your seats? It just struck me that for some of you here, you may be wondering why there's people dotted around who are like raising their arms in the air and things like that. Just to explain, Chris is nodding his head. Why would you do such a thing? That's wild. Just to explain, really, it's just a sign of surrender to God. So we believe that our whole selves belong to God, not just our souls and our emotions and our mind, but our bodies as well. And that sometimes that physical demonstration of surrender is a way in which we worship God. Sometimes we'll bow before God, and it's just a way of bringing our bodies before the Lord as well. So just in case you were wondering what on earth that is all about. Can we just thank Joel and Joe for leading us so sensitively there? We all know that Joe was the real, she was the one, Joel stealing the limelight, excellent. So I'm going to welcome Mark forward. Can we give Mark a warm welcome, please?
Thanks, mate. Thank you.
So why don't you tell us, Mark, who are you?
Yes.
For anyone who's wondering.
Define
tell us,
me.
Yeah. Tell us your deepest, darkest secrets.
Well, they've got their notepads out. That's well, good morning. I'm Mark Greenwood. I am 55 years old.
Wow.
Thank you. Appreciate that. The one person.
What a charmer.
Yeah, I'm loving her
She says
already.
that to all the guest speakers, to be honest with you,
very
mate.
Special lady. Yeah. Thank you very much for that.
Pushing 60 at least, right?
So can I just say I got up very early this morning. That's why I look 60. Okay. I head up a particular role for the Elim Church, which this church is part of, which is helping our churches to tell this amazing news that Jesus has died for us. So, that's what I do for a job.
Awesome.
It's all right. I'm from Bradford originally, over the
Pennines. Yeah. And tell me, what are your views on the Eurovision Song Contest?
Well.
Did anyone watch? Did anyone watch last night?
Okay.
Let me just... Mark, I just want to say Mark loves it. He loves it. He dressed up, did a scorecard last night. He was getting well into it.
So let me just put it out there. I hate the Eurovision Song Contest with a passion. However, because I'm a very nice husband, normally what happens in my house is my wife and two daughters, they have a full Eurovision party. They dress up. They get snacks and sweets and crisps, and they go all out. And this is the first year that none of my daughters were able to do Eurovision with my wife. So on Tuesday, I said to my wife, darling, you know I hate Eurovision. She said, yes. I said, but you know I love you.
Oh, come
There's
on.
a line. There's a line. She said, yeah. I said, I'm going to go full Eurovision with you.
Awesome.
And she didn't dress up because thankfully she'd had a really tiring week, so I didn't have to do that. But we got snacks. Snacks. And I actually said, love, I want to do everything. I want the score chart. So I stayed up till about 12:05 last night, knowing I was getting up at 6 o'clock this morning to drive up here. So this morning has been sponsored by McDonald's breakfast. So there you go.
Brilliant.
Which I think I can feel the sugar from the McDonald's breakfast wearing
Just starting
out.
to wear
so
out.
We'll get going quickly.
Just as you were about to speak.
Exactly.
Awesome. So one more thing about Mark that I feel like you need to know, just for like afterwards, if you want to talk to Mark. One of the best conversations I've had in like the last 2 or 3 years was chatting with Mark at a Elim retreat about food. Yes. So Mark is a massive foodie.
I am.
And has very like strong opinions, which are great. So if you fancy having a chat with Mark about food afterwards.
Absolutely.
So you've got a few books for us.
I've got a few books, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? And then I'm going to get out the way.
I've got this little stand with me, look.
Wow. Look at that.
Churches have varying pulpits and they're flat table.
Yeah.
And normally when you've got a tall minister.
Flat table is what you get.
And a short preacher. It's not a good combination. So I've got my little propping up device so I can actually see what's written on there. Okay. So,
excellent.
Yes. So very briefly, I've written a bunch of books to help those of us who are followers of Jesus journey in a really sensitive way and an understanding way with people that maybe aren't, to help them understand something more about the Christian faith. So I'm going to fly through these at breakneck speed.
Right, lovely.
Because I'm not
I'm going to go and sit down.
You
and
go
let
and
you
sit there, and then
crack on.
I'll seamlessly move. I tell you what, I've got neck ache looking up at him. Yeah. So that's better. Now you're my height, look. So this is a book called Big Yes, Little Yes, Healthy Maybe. When it comes to coming to faith, it's a journey. So Big Yes is about helping people say the big yes to God to become a Christian. Little Yes is about helping people to explore, to investigate, and Healthy Maybe is about helping people to become open-minded about the Christian faith. So I've written that book, and if you're the type of person who likes to study a book rather than just read one, then you can buy the study guide. Okay? Now, you can buy that book without buying that book. But don't buy that book without buying that book, just because that book's cheaper, all right? It'll be a waste of your money. I'm just putting it out there, okay? So that's that one. And then let's go for this book here, little book. Now, that is a good answer. Just a little bit of a sort of a starter for 10 with some of the really tricky questions that sometimes Christians have, sometimes people that are exploring faith have. So it's just a starter for 10. It's not an in-depth look at any one particular one. And we cover everything from where did Cain get his wife to did Jesus really rise from the dead? Okay, and what about dinosaurs? So a little bit of stuff on that. In that one, that's that one. And then this book, if you want to get a little bit better at journeying with people from other faiths and sharing your faith with them, we've taken the sort of 13, 14 most common sort of cults and religions, and it's a practical guide, loads of top tips. What do they believe about some of the things that we believe? So that's a cheeky little book there. By the way, you can pay by cash, card, phone, or watch. However, a note about the watch from bitter experience. It has to be a watch that you can actually pay with. Because I've had some people from, I'm just going to put it out there, a certain generation hovering a Casio 199 watch. And that doesn't work, okay? So I'm just saving you a little bit of embarrassment there. And then this book here is a book called Is It Possible? Maybe. Helping people to become open-minded. It's a gentle nudge for people who call themselves atheists to say, is it possible? Could it be possible that there is a God? And maybe for people who say, well, that Christianity is not for me. Often when I say to people, what's not for you about Christianity? They say, you know, that Christian stuff. And so I get them to explain. And when they've explained it, I say, yeah, no, that's not for me either. Because sometimes people have misunderstandings. And that's what that book's about. I'm going to unpack a little bit of stuff in there because it's pertinent to what I'm going to be sharing with you a bit this morning. That book's called Look Closer. This is to help you look closer, really, at the Christian faith. It's got David Suchet's story of faith, the greatest ever Inspector Poirot, I might add. We agree, don't we? Bear Grylls models himself on me. Right, you're making up your own jokes now. Right, okay. And then Alice Cooper, that raises a few eyebrows. Plus a whole boatload of loads of other people's stories. That's got loads of people's stories in there as well. That's for people to investigate. And this book is for people who've just said yes to God or are very, very close. Again, lots of stories. So the last three are the type of books that maybe if you're here today and you are a follower of Jesus, it'd be the sort of book that you could read and then look at giving away to people. Okay, so I'm going to get me water. I'm going to turn it round because we don't want product placement, do we? Okay. Bear with. That's a really fair point. Yeah, I didn't see that, did I? Lovely, great. So, aim of this morning is I'd like to have a little bit of a chat with you. I don't know where you are in your journey of faith, whether you're somebody who calls yourself a Christian, whether you're somebody who's exploring, whether you're somebody who's maybe slipping away. But what I want to do this morning is I want to kind of talk to everybody, really, give you some thoughts for those of you who are exploring and are investigating, and for those of you who are already followers of Jesus, something that might help you in your own faith as well as help you to help others in their faith. That's the big goal. You can tell me at the end whether we managed to do it. But to help me do that, I want to ask you a question. Who here believes in flying cows? Put your hand up if you believe in flying cows. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thanks for supporting me, because apart from me and this young discerning gentleman, we were very much on our own. Thank you. Obviously not somebody who's given to work in the limelight, are you? It's good. I loved it. That's very nice. Might use that myself. Who doesn't believe in flying cows? Raise your hand. Okay. Who's not sure whether they believe in flying cows? Raise your hands. Okay, and who's not really bothered either? The apathy in this place is terrible, isn't it? I do that little survey because I'm a believer in flying cows. I'm a believer in flying cows. And lots of people aren't, including a particular group of people. I'm going to read to you a story. Who remembers Reader's Digest? Yeah, those headed. Oh, now you've woken up, haven't you? I read this story, and I'm pretty sure it was from Reader's Digest. It says, a fisherman on the Aral Sea was enjoying the calm weather and the warm sun when his peace was disturbed by a flying cow. Out of the blue, a Frisian cow landed on his boat, destroying it and almost drowning him. Of course, no one believed him, and his adventure was thought to be a practical joke. The insurance company refused to pay him for his boat. You can maybe understand that a little bit. And it was even reported in the newspapers, the local newspapers, that this man told the tallest of stories. Until, that is, when the US Air Force admitted that a cow in one of their huge transport planes had gone mad and had been jettisoned over the Aral Sea. Now, you've got to feel a little bit unlucky that you were where it landed at one level, haven't you? I mean, I don't know what the chances of that happening are. It's got to be pretty slim, hasn't it? But, you know, it happened nevertheless. I've discovered in life, generally, I'm sure you have, that sometimes you have to believe the unbelievable, however unbelievable it may seem. It's true, isn't it? Have you ever found out something about someone or something and you would never have believed that that would be true, and then you find out that it's true? Like sometimes, like life-changing things you can find out. Sometimes they might be slightly more shallow or slightly more fun. Well, you're not on your own, because people the world over throughout history have been in that space. I'd like to explore this a little bit with you this morning about believing the unbelievable, however unbelievable it may seem. And to help us explore that more, we're going to go to the best place to go for all matters of life and faith, and that's the Bible. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Bible, you'll understand what I mean if I say to John chapter 20, verses 24 to 31. If you're unfamiliar with the Bible, I'm going to read the words from it. It's only a bunch of sentences. It's not a long reading. I'll read it to you and you can just listen. And so if you've got a Bible and you want to open it, that's great. If you've got an iPhone and you want to hit the app, that's grand. If you've got an Android, just leave it in your bag. Now, Thomas, also known as Didymus, comedy name, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We've seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, interesting, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas said to him, "My Lord and my God." Then Jesus told him, "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed." Now, whenever the Bible uses the word blessed, particularly in the newest part of the Bible, whenever it uses the word blessed, it actually means happy, happy. In other words, the happiest people are those who have not seen and yet believe. I find this passage really intriguing. Sometimes I think we can be a little bit in danger of sort of reading the Bible in a rather bland and boring manner, in a rather sanitized way. But I'm not going to lie to you. If I was Thomas in this situation, there's a few things happened that are now freaking me out. The door's locked, and he's just appeared. That's spooky. That's freaky. Okay, and let's try and just imagine, just if not a fly on the wall, but a person in the room. Just place yourself, just for a few moments, just place yourself kind of looking and watching what is unfolding. Maybe you're a little bit aware of some of the previous conversations. If it was me, I would be looking. Jesus appears, and I'm thinking, I don't think he was there a few moments ago. That's a bit bizarre for somebody to appear in a locked room. Must be a key. He must have a key. He must have a key. Start to think it. We start to rationalize it away. But actually, he just appeared, and the Bible says, though the doors were locked, it makes the point. And then Jesus spoke, and then he said to Thomas, I wonder what Thomas was thinking when Jesus spoke and said, "Peace be with you," and Thomas went, okay. I think that's Jesus. Maybe he rubbed his eyes. Maybe he thought he was dreaming. Maybe he pinched himself. Thought, what is happening here? This can't be reasonable. This can't be true. It can't be real. And then Jesus said to him, "Thomas, put your finger there." I'd feel a little bit ill. Wouldn't you? I'm not squeamish. I mean, I watch Embarrassing Bodies. It's one of my favourite programs. So I'm not squeamish. But understand, when I watch Embarrassing Bodies, they're the other side of the camera and I'm the other side of a screen. And there's a bit of distance. When I'm in the same room and somebody said, "Come, touch." It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's a bit strange. And interestingly then, he says to Thomas, "Now stop it. You're doubting. Stop your doubting. I'm right here. I'm right in front of you." And thankfully he believed. But interestingly, Jesus was pleased he believed, but actually wanted to make the statement that actually the happiest people are those not that have seen all the evidence and therefore have believed, but have believed in some ways, maybe without seeing any of the evidence. I do quite a lot of talks to people that are kind of exploring faith. It's the predominance of my role. And I'd been invited to Malvern, which is down in Worcestershire. And I was doing this sixth form lesson for, it was like the second year of sixth form. I get my school year numbers mixed up. I can't remember, even though I've got two children. What was that, is it? 13, thank you. So in year 13, second year A level, and they'd given me this subject, said, can you come and speak? We want you to do an hour. We want you to do 20 minutes on why you believe in God, and then 40 minutes Q&A. Now, I like Q&As because I just think they're really enjoyable. And so I'd finished doing my presentation, 20 minutes. I said, right, anybody got any questions? It came as no surprise to me that there was a young lad on the front row, and he put his hand up. I knew he'd be the first one to put his hand up. I thought, I don't think he likes me. This was largely due to the fact that steam was coming out of his ears and his veins were pulsating. And it's like the first moment his hand went up. And I looked at him, I said, yes, sir. He said, the problem with you Christians. I thought, brace yourself, Greenwood. Brace yourself. And I thought, the problem. He's managed to reduce it to one. I can give him a lot more, can't you? He said, the problem with you Christians is you only believe what you read in a book and what people tell you. I looked at him, I said, yeah, correct. He went, is it? I went, well, you said it, not me. He said, yeah, but I didn't expect you to respond that way. I went, I know you didn't. And that's why I did. And I said, it's a fair point you raise. We do believe what we read in a book and what people tell us. I mean, obviously, like those of us who are followers of Jesus, who are people that have given our lives to God and committed to living life his way with his help and embrace the forgiveness that Jesus brings, we know that there's something extra kicks in when you take that step. And for those of you who are familiar with church language, you'll know what I mean when I say that inner witness. It means there's something inside that we just kind of know. We took that step. But I thought it's no point saying that to him because he wouldn't really understand that. He wouldn't resonate. He wouldn't get that. So I said, yeah. So I said, oh, just out of interest, I'd be really interested to know before I go on to explore this anymore with you. What do you believe? And so he began to tell me what he believed. And he was a somethingist. I'd never met one before, since. So I said, oh, that's really, really interesting. And it was. I said, that's really fascinating. And it was. And I said to him, where'd you get that from? He said to me, well, it's true, innit? I said, it's not what I asked. I said, where do you get that from? He said, well, it's true, innit? I said, it's not what I asked. I'm going to ask you one more. I felt like I was in a courtroom situation now. I put it to you on the night in question. I said, I'm going to ask you one more time. Where did you get that from? He didn't have a chance to inhale, let alone exhale, when a young girl at the back of the room shouted out, he got it from a book. I looked at him. I said, you didn't. He went, I did. I said to him, how come it's okay for you to believe what you believe when you get it from a book or somebody tells you /YouTube? But it's not okay for me to believe what I believe because somebody told me, because I got it from a book /YouTube. He said, yeah, well, the Bible's a load of rubbish. I went, now then, it's not, and we'll have some discussion about that in a few moments' time, but would you at least concede that the objection that you have given there isn't valid? Because actually the truth is, we all believe what we believe because we got it from a book, because somebody told us /YouTube. He said, yeah, but the Bible's a load of rubbish. And that was his problem. See, here's the deal for him. His mum, not his wife, that would have been weird at school. His mum was a scientist. His dad was a scientist. And they had brought him up believing that you can't have science and faith. You can't believe in science and you can't believe the Bible. They'd said sweeping statements that oft is a sweeping statement, Of course, the Bible's disproved. We'll explore that in a few moments' time. Whenever people say to me that the Bible's disproved it all, I'll say to them, which part of science? Which scientists? Which scientific textbooks? Because the truth is, there's a boatload who are leading Christians who are also leading scientists, experts in their fields, and they found actually quite the opposite. I was speaking to one chap I was interviewing. I was doing a bunch of lectures in Loughborough University many years ago, and on the faculty there was Professor David Crowe, who's a professor of chemistry, and I said to him, you know, lots of people struggle to see how you can have like faith and science, the Bible and biblical textbook, and he just said, my science informs my faith informs my science. Now, to be fair to this young lad, he did concede that his original question was unfair, and I actually thought that was quite big of him to say that in front of all the class. So I made sure that I said to him, look, it's amazing that you've been prepared, to debate and have a Q&A, but also massive respect to you to be willing to say, well, actually, that somebody said something I'd not really considered before, and that's a fair point. And I think it's a really good place to be, isn't it? And I think all of us as human beings, as Christians, we can take a bit of a leaf out of that book rather than getting defensive when somebody might say something that we haven't thought through. Maybe see it as an opportunity to learn and go, okay, let me explore that. Let me do some research around that, have some conversations with that. See, science can't prove or disprove any of it, really. I want you to imagine you're in a situation, okay? So this is a classroom. You're all busy working really hard, okay? And Joel, and it is Joe, isn't it? 50% of Joe, okay? Joe. So Joe and Joel, right, you're all students working very hard. Got your heads down, okay? These two, naughty. Sound about right? We've chosen the right two people. They're not even denying it, which I love, okay? And they're sort of kicking each other under the table, okay? I'm the teacher. You might find that even more difficult to believe, but just believe the unbelievable, however unbelievable. I first instructed you. And I turn around, you're all working really hard, and I see them, and I said, Joe, stop it. And they say, stop what, sir? I said, stop messing about. You're supposed to be learning and writing an essay. You're kicking each other under the table. And they both said, no, we won't, sir. I went, you were. They said, no, you won't, sir. I said, I saw you with my own eyes. They said, you can't prove it. And they're absolutely right. Can't prove it. But I know what I've seen. But I can't prove it to anybody else who didn't see it. So just because something can't be proved, it doesn't mean that it's not true. Absence of evidence does not equal evidence of absence. Every now and then in my life, I say something profound. That was it for this decade. And so I'll repeat it, because some of you will want to put it on social media, and you'll get it the wrong way around and make me look like I'm unprofound. So absence of evidence is not necessarily evidence of absence. Just because science can or can't prove it doesn't really change anything. If it can't get the evidence, it doesn't change anything. And even then, if science can prove something, I've lived long enough in this world to know that science has regularly said, oh, we've changed our mind. It's happening with lots of stuff. You know, some of the things they prove that are kind of backing up their case, they do it quite publicly, but then when they realise it's not quite been true, they'll declare it privately. And please, I'm not knocking science. I think science is amazing. If you want my slant on science, it's a progressive discovery of all that God has made and created anyway. And God's just allowing us to discover the knowledge of all the beautiful things and amazing things. But science does have its shortfalls. You see, science may be able to tell us how we got here, but it can't tell us what we do now we are here. That can only be found in the person that made us and created us, and that is God. We all have to come to the party willing to believe something. I don't know where you are in your journey of faith, but I think it's highly unlikely. I can't say 100% that it's not going to happen, but I think it's highly unlikely that you'll have 100% proof about God before you take the step. And that's fine, because our legal system's based on, is it beyond reasonable doubt, not is it all conclusive. I had the joy, probably a little bit too much joy, of being in jury service. Anybody done jury service here? I was a bit excited because I wanted to be a lawyer when I was a kid. I ended up as a butcher. Not quite sure how that happened. There's no obvious link. And then 3 days before my 18th birthday, I left home and I started doing what I'm doing now. So I was perhaps a little bit more excited than I should have been when I got to do jury service. And I remember on one particular case where we were sworn in by the judge, he said, look, I'm the judge of the law. My job's to make sure that everything that happens is legal. You're the judge of the evidence. It's your job to decide what the evidence is saying. And sometimes you might not have the piece of evidence that you want, but you have to look at the evidence and saying, is it beyond reasonable doubt? My friend who's a detective and shows me that this is the major question they ask when pushing forward things to go to court. Is it beyond reasonable doubt that this particular thing happened? In other words, it's very rare that we can be 100% sure about something. And that's where taking that step to give your life to Christ, taking that step to become a Christian, is where you nudge beyond. And so that's when you'll find Christians who know that they know that they know, because they've gone beyond the not knowing. They've taken the step, the risky bit, and discovered that it is all true. I don't know where you are in your journey of life and faith this morning, but I want you to be willing to explore. Imagine the circle on this little leaflet contains the knowledge of the whole world. If I was to say to you after the service, here's a pen, put a little mark, a little dot in there that best represents your knowledge, you'd probably put a little dot. And if I'd put a little dot, but in truth, that's probably still too big because it's only a small circle. And so you put that dot in there anyway. So that dot now represents everything that you know, but other people might not know. And everything outside of that dot represents everything that you don't know. Is it possible that God does exist? It's just outside your knowledge. Is it possible that Jesus really did die, really did live, really did come back alive, but you just don't know about it? Is it possible that all that Christians claim to be true is true and is real? You just don't know about it. It's just outside of your knowledge. People often say to me that you Christians are so narrow-minded. I would argue that we're not narrow-minded, we've just got some knowledge. And when people say that you Christians claim that you're right and everybody else is wrong, by the way, I've never claimed that I'm right. Christianity isn't right, it's Jesus that's right. And when you look at Jesus and when you look at the Christian faith, it's the closest match. Because as Christians, we believe in who Jesus was, what Jesus did, what he was all about, and seek to take that message and seek to live it out. Not that we always succeed, because we're human beings, we're frail, and we get it wrong. Anybody get stuff wrong here this morning? Yeah? Okay. A chunk of us, the rest of you, what I call liars. Okay? So, I'm only joking. We do, don't we? We get stuff wrong. We really, really do. But is it possible that God does exist, but you just don't know it? I'd ask you to explore. A friend of mine said to me a few months back, this is a conversation that is reflective actually of a conversation I have with lots and lots of people as I travel around. And he said to me, the thing is, Mark, I just can't believe because I can't see it. He wanted that unless I put my finger in the wounds and in his side. He wanted that kind of experience like the chap that we read about right at the beginning of my talk. He said, I just can't believe. And I said, why is that? He said, because I can only believe in things that I can see. I went, okay. I said, would you mind me asking how you think we got here? And I wasn't wanting to have a debate whether it was Big Bang, evolution, creation. That wasn't my purpose at all. He said to me, I said, oh yeah, no, it was the Big Bang. I went, okay. Was it loud? said, what do you mean, was it loud? The Big Bang. Because first of all, it was a bang. And it was a big bang. Like, big bang, bang. Quite loud, isn't it? A big bang. I said, was it like, did it frighten you? Like, did you have a cup of tea and then your cup of tea went all over? Was it bright? What happened? What happened? And he looked at me as if I'd kind of lost the plot, which at one level I understand. He said, why are you asking me that? I said, just assumed you were there, really. He said, well, why would you assume I was there? I said, well, it's just that you said you can't believe in God because you can't see him, and you only believe in things that you can see. So I assumed you must have seen the Big Bang because you're believing in it. And he looked at me and went, oh. He said, no, I think I believe in the Big Bang. No, I wasn't there. I said, I didn't think you were. So he said, well, it's just that lots of people believe it. I said, yeah, lots of people believe in God too. He said, but some of the leading experts in the world talk about the Big Bang. I said, yeah, some of the leading experts in the world talk about the fact that there wasn't a Big Bang. And some of the leading experts in the world talk about the fact that there was a Big Bang, but somebody had to create the Big Bang for the Big Bang to happen. They believe it's God. And so we just had this kind of ongoing discussion and conversation. And he began to discover that actually a lot of what he believes is just from what he's heard people say, and he's not really explored and heard different sides of the argument. Now, there's a challenge for those of us who are Christians not to just believe what we believe without exploring, without looking at different sides of the argument and understanding. And actually, when you do that, it really strengthens your own faith, actually. It's really good for you and also helps you to understand people who need answers to these questions, and we can journey together and explore together, and it'd be less about like this kind of almost like debate where I believe this, you believe this, and like we're at loggerheads to explore and to journey together. It's so important that we can do that. Haven't we lost the art in the world of disagreeing with each other? We've put really emotionally loaded names on if I disagree with a particular way that you might live your life, I'm all of a sudden phobic. There's all sorts of stuff that comes out. And it seems like, and it's not just Christians against the world, it's the world against the world. It's like we just lost the art to disagree with each other and be different. It's heartbreaking, really. It's really, really sad. And I want to suggest to you that it's not only possible that God does exist, but that he does exist. And I've got knowledge of him, but it's not because of me. It's not through anything I've done. And for those of you maybe are not in that place, I wonder whether you might be willing to take some steps forward, even this morning, to begin to explore even more, to begin to be even more open-minded, to start to be the sort of person that says, I'm not just going to wait till I see until I believe. I'm going to believe first, because as Jesus promises, that's actually the happy. It's a well-known fact that people of faith tend to navigate life better, scientifically and medically proven, that we're happier people by believing in God and believing in what Jesus did. And it's actually not that narrow-minded to be a Christian. There are approximately 8 billion people in the world. It's grown a bit in recent times. And as of the end of 2019, the latest at that point verified statistic from the Center for the Study of Global Christianity at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary suggested that 2.5 billion of those 8 billion-ish are Christians, and this number is rising faster than ever before. It's happening globally. It's bonkers. What's happening around the world is crazy insane. We've just returned from a conference which is for our denomination, where we met a whole bunch of people from India, from various places around Africa and Brazil, just telling some of the stories about what God's doing around the world. But here's the wonderful thing. Stuff's starting to happen on our shores as well. So Christians, be encouraged. But if you're here this morning and at this moment in time you've not given your life to Christ, just understand that even if this morning you took a step, it's not like a narrow-minded, small group of people. You're stepping into a community of believers, stepping into a community of people who've done it. And you can begin to explore even more. You don't have to have every I dotted and T crossed, like, welcome to life. How many of you know that there are very few situations and moments that you face in life where everything's concrete and sorted? You get married, not every I is dotted and every T is crossed. You go to a new job, not every I is dotted, every T is crossed. There's little risks and little steps that we have to take in life. That's just the way life works. But there is a weight of evidence that this is all true, that it is all real. I haven't got time to explore it this morning, but I just want to posture this to you this morning. Sir Lionel Luku, who lived from 1914 to 1997, is considered one of the greatest lawyers in British history. He's recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's most successful advocate, with 245 consecutive murder acquittals. He was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II twice. And Luku declared, "I humbly add, I have spent more than 42 years as a defense trial lawyer, appearing in many parts of the world, and I'm still in active practice. I have been fortunate to secure a number of successes in jury trials, and I say unequivocally, the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ is so overwhelming that it compels acceptance by proof, which leaves absolutely no room for doubt." When Jesus appeared in that room, that locked room, there was no doubt that he was alive. And though it was like, it's impossible for me to believe, Thomas, from where we get the phrase, doubting Thomas, you'll be aware of that. He's gone from this suddenly believing what seemed really unbelievable to now discovering it's actually very reasonable to believe it. And just as I draw my talk to a close this morning, I wonder where you are in your journey of life and faith. I often say there's three ways that you can respond to God. One that I call the big yes. It might be that this morning you're ready to say, do you know what? I just got to take a step. I've just got to go for it. Maybe you've been on the periphery. Maybe you've been exploring. Fantastic. But there'll need to come a point where if you're really going to know it's true, where you just have to take a little bit of a step, where you go in and say, I'm saying a big yes to God. Saying a big yes to God simply means you're saying, God, I don't want to live my life without you. I want to live it with you. I want to discover who it is that you've made me to be. I ask for your forgiveness for all that I've done that's wrong. I believe you came back alive, and I want, with your help, to live life your way. That's what it means to say a big yes to God. Maybe that's you this morning. It might be that you're here and you say, Mark, I'm not really ready to go all in, but I hear what you're saying. I've been thinking, I've been exploring. I know some people. Wonder whether I might invite you to formally make what I call a little yes decision this morning. And that may be to God. It might just simply be to you. But a little yes decision is about making an intentional decision to find out more, to really explore. I call it having a bit of a rummage around in the faith. You ever like having a mooch? Having a rummage around. Have a mooch in the Christian faith. Have a rummage around. See what it's all about. Have an explore. Go down some of the little alleyways and have a good old look around. Because I often say to people, you can only really reject Christianity if you know what it is. If you don't know what it is and you're actually rejecting what you think it is. So actually there's no integrity to your rejection. So have a rummage around. Have an explore. And then if you say, no, fair dues, I'll be gutted. But at least you've had a rummage around and an explore and a good old investigate. But then it might be that you're here and say, Mark, I'm not really ready to kind of do that. I wonder whether this morning you might say, become what I call a healthy maybe, which is somebody who says, actually, maybe there's something in this. And whilst I'm not really ready to have a good old explore and a good old rummage around. I am going to keep it alive. I'm going to keep it on the back burner. I haven't really got the time. No, it's not where I'm at, but I will keep it there. So which are you this morning? Big yes, little yes, or a healthy maybe? I'd like to offer you something this morning, and then I'm going to pray. If you're already a follower of Jesus, you've got to buy stuff. Right? Because if you know whether you are or not. And so, remember, Jesus is watching. I haven't got a book for that yet. I'm halfway through writing one called Yes Again. So when I've done it, you can have it. I genuinely am. So there you go. So if you're here this morning and you're saying, yeah, I'm one of those big yes people, I'd love to give you this book for free. Genuinely free, no strings attached. As I say, if you're a guest this morning, if you're already a Christian, don't come and get them, because if everybody takes them, I won't be able to afford to get them reprinted to give away. Okay? So that's for people this morning. If you're saying, Mark, I'm a big yes, come and get one of these books. Just come and see me at the back. Just come up to me and say, oh, Mark, can I have one of your books? Please, I'm one of those people this morning. And you don't have to remember all the books. And I'll help you process where you're at. This book here, if you're saying, no, I'm up for having a good old rummage around, a good old mooch, a good old explore, then I'd love to give you one of these books. But if you're just here this morning saying, no, I'm a healthy maybe, I'm up for becoming open-minded and just keeping it on the back burner, then I'd love to give you one of these books. As I say, completely free of charge. There's no strings attached. I just want to help you in your journey of faith this morning. And so just come and see me at the end as well. Are we having hot, tasty beverages after the service as well?
Yeah, can't guarantee taste.
Okay. I feel like the service is taking a turn on it. Taking a bit of a turn. Yeah, right. Ignore him, he's backslidden. Right. Right, I'm going to have to start all over again now. Joel and Joe, back you come. I'm going to start with communion. Right, okay. So, so if you would like to get one of those books, just come and see me at the end. As I say, the rest of you come and buy them. But maybe this morning, if you are a Christian, get some things that'll just help you so that you can begin to journey even more and explore. Some of the stuff I've talked a bit about this morning is mentioned in one or two of these things, and begin to get better at journeying with people. May I pray? Let's pray, shall we? Just before I hand back, if you're here this morning and you're a big yes person, maybe you might just want to say to God in the stillness and quietness, if you feel you can, of your own heart, God, I'm saying a big yes to you. I don't fully understand it, but I'm saying a big yes to you. Maybe if you're here this morning and you're a little yes, particularly if you feel you are making a decision to investigate God, maybe you might want to say, yeah, I'm a little yes, I'm going to investigate the faith in God. Maybe if you're here this morning and you're up for becoming, or you are open-minded and want to stay that way with regards to faith, maybe you might just in your own heart say, yeah, I'm going to do that healthy maybe stuff. You sort of make your own decision. So often in life, we don't steal these moments, do we? Just kind of bounce from one day to the next. Maybe this is just a moment in the story of your life where you make a decision to become either a big yes or a little yes or a healthy maybe. And Father, my prayer for anyone who fits into one of those areas, that they would know you close to them. They would feel that they could talk to you, talk to other Christians and explore. Father, I pray that you will somehow give them enough to know that they can take that step. For anybody who said a big yes to you this morning, help them to know that they've taken that step. And that whether they feel anything or not, you're going to become more real to them in the days and weeks And Lord, for those of us who are already followers of Jesus, help us to, be more confident about our faith, more thoughtful about our faith. And that, Lord, we'll never be nervous if people ask us questions. May we seek you together with them. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Bless you, folks. It's been lovely to be with you. Bless
Amen.
you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mark. Really appreciate it, mate. Wonderful. So, we're going to draw our service to a close now, and there will be tasty refreshments at the back. Awesome. Just to say, next week we've got Justin Briley with us, and he'll be talking about the surprising rebirth of belief in God that's happening in the UK right now. There was a public intellectual who said recently, he actually wrote an article and he said, "I don't believe in God, but I miss him." And it's a sense of I actually find it really hard to come to a point of belief, but there's something in me that still feels pulled, still feels drawn towards God. And so that's kind of what we're going to be exploring next week together. So bless you all. Thank you so much, Mark. Please do go and say hello to him and get a book if you are so inclined. All right. God bless you all.